When old man Michael opened his eyes, he noticed that he was surrounded by white walls. He realized that he was in the hospital and remembered the reason why he was there. It was the police who caused him to collapse. Then Michael saw the attending physician. He was holding an old locket in his hands. The doctor was shocked by the photograph he saw inside. This story began 15 years ago. The door of the apartment building opened quietly, and a small dog ran outside. He was followed by an old, limping man. His neighbors and acquaintances called him Grandpa Michael. A middle-aged man and a woman were sitting on a bench near the building. They smiled and addressed the old man. "Where are you off to so early in the morning, Grandpa Michael?" The couple on the street turned out to be neighbors of the lonely old man. "I'm going out of town for a bit. I have a house in the village with a garden. That's where my soul rests," he answered. "But you were just sick. Maybe you shouldn't travel so far just yet," Emma asked worriedly. "I'll keep going there until the day I die. The best memories of my life live in that house. I feel like my late wife and daughter Helena still live there." "You should take better care of yourself," Anthony, the neighbor, shook his head. "I can't live without work. I need something to distract me from my loneliness. Apart from Robbie, of course." The old man smiled and looked at his dog. "Call us if you need anything. You have our number," Emma replied. Grandpa Michael took the train to his favorite place outside the city. The views of the beautiful spring flashed outside the windows. Inspired by the landscape, the man was already making plans for the next day. He hadn't been out of the city in 3 months. He needed to do some work on the trees and vines and fertilize the land for sowing vegetables. His loyal friend, the little dog Robbie, was sitting by his side. Michael gently patted his ear. "Come on, Robbie, that's our stop. Now you'll get to run around all you want." When the old man approached his house, he let the dog off the leash, and Robbie immediately started running around in the fresh green grass that had already made its way out of the ground. "Well, hello, dear home," Michael said softly, with notes of longing in his voice. In the evening, the old man sat in a rocking chair near the fireplace, looked at the flame, and drank fruit tea. It was either because he hadn't been working for some time or because of the illness he'd just recovered from, but Michael was feeling very tired. His beloved dog curled up on a mat at his feet. Robbie spent the entire day running around and now was sleeping soundly. The old man's mind was flooded with memories. Once upon a time, he used to sit with his beloved wife Julia just like that. They drank tea and talked about everything in the world. He never felt bored with her. They loved each other deeply and tenderly, trusted each other, and always supported each other when their family went through difficult times. Their daughter Helena was born out of their love. She was growing up as a sensitive and intelligent girl, always striving to help others. Michael and Julia couldn't be happier with the way she turned out. When Helena grew up, she moved to the city and became a doctor. Her parents were very proud of her. She was the meaning of their life. But one day, a terrible misfortune befell their family. Michael and his wife were informed that their daughter had died tragically. The death and subsequent funeral of her beloved child undermined Julia's health. She fell ill and died 3 years after her daughter. Michael was now 87 years old. After the death of his beloved women, he'd been living alone for 15 years. The man was tormented by the feeling of loneliness, so he got a dog. He lived in the city, in the house of his late daughter, and during the warm season, he moved to his out-of-town house. The old man had no relatives left. All the interactions with other people he got were brief conversations with neighbors or some acquaintances. In his solitude, the man continuously went over the memories of his past life in his head. His wedding with Julia, Helena's birth, family dinners and walks, his daughter's childhood and adolescence. It may sound strange, but that was the only thing that made the man feel somewhat happy. Unfortunately, it only worked for a very brief moment. "God, when will you end my life? How much longer do I have to endure this loneliness? I just want to be with my girls again," Michael kept thinking. The man was pulled out of his sad thoughts by the sound of a car that pulled up by the neighbor's house. Michael got up from his chair and went over to the window. He saw young people get out of the car. They were greeted by a noisy crowd of young men and women, all about 18 or 20 years old. They all went into the house on the other side of the street, which used to be vacant. Apparently someone had recently bought it. Half an hour later, a terrible noise came from that house. Michael felt as if the young people were deliberately turning the music louder and louder, while the screams of the drunk young people seemed deafening. The old man was already in bed because he was very tired. Michael wasn't accustomed to loud noise. He always enjoyed the silence, especially in his old age, when loud sounds caused him migraines and high blood pressure. He put earplugs in, but even they didn't save him from annoying screams and music. It was simply too loud. So the old man never managed to fall asleep. He was hoping that the noise would die down at least by midnight, but that didn't happen. The neighbors continued to play their loud music even at about 2 a.m, so Grandpa Michael got a headache. He got up, took a pill, got dressed, and having plucked up his courage, headed towards the noisy house. The neighbor's door was open. The drunk young people were having fun, and it didn't look like they were planning on stopping anytime soon. They were dancing, drinking, and doing all kinds of shameless things. "Turn the music down and stop all this noise. I'm your neighbor and I can't sleep," Michael said, going up to the young people. The young people got a bit quieter and looked at the old man with surprised and somewhat confused eyes. One of the young men, whose body was completely covered in tattoos and piercings, approached Michael. "What's your problem, old man? Are you looking for trouble? Or are you looking for a drink? Or a girl? Charlotte, come over here. Entertain this old man." He pulled over the obscenely dressed young woman. Everyone started laughing and pointing fingers at Michael. "Did God send you to take a look at the modern youth before you die?" "I'll call the police. I'm warning you," Michael said. "Call whoever you want, even the Pope. We'll get you arrested for slander." Michael felt unwell. His headache got worse, and he started getting chest pains. The old man turned around and walked home. He could still hear the laughter behind him. At home, Michael took his medicine and called the police. However, when the police officers arrived an hour later, the neighboring house got suspiciously quiet. Therefore, the police didn't see any violations of public peace and left. The next night, the situation was the same. Only Michael decided to not go over there anymore and called the police right away. It was very strange, but when the police arrived, the young people next door behaved appropriately. Half an hour later, the young police officer was already talking to the old man. "You should be ashamed of yourself. What's this all about? Those young people are behaving very quietly. No one is drunk there. There's no music. But they did warn me that you were always getting on their case." Michael felt like he could burst into tears at any moment. "But that's not true. I don't go about accusing people without cause. I haven't been able to sleep for 2 nights in a row now." "Consider this your warning. Wait, maybe those young people know someone in the police, so they got a heads up when they need to quiet down. I swear, they were being very loud. Take care, sir." The next night, nothing changed. The music was blaring next door. The old man called the police again, but 10 minutes later, the neighbors got quiet. Michael realized that he had fallen into the young people's trap. It looked like they wanted to teach him a lesson for calling the police on them in the first place. Having arrived at the call and seeing that there was nothing suspicious in the neighbor's house, the police officers went to see Michael again. "We warned you. Get ready. You're coming to the police station with us. Do you think we have nothing better to do than come out on your false calls? Or do you have nothing better to do than call us all the time?" "But they set me up." The old man's lips were trembling as he clutched his chest. Michael woke up in the hospital. He was brought there by the police when he started feeling ill. "Hello, I see you woke up. How are you feeling?" The man in the white coat took him by the hand. It was the doctor. "To be honest, I'm not feeling well. Can you imagine? They wanted to take me to the station," Michael whispered. "Do you recognize me?" the doctor asked. "To be honest, I don't. We saw each other before, although it was only a couple of times. I wouldn't have recognized you either, but when they brought you here, this locket fell out of your pocket." The doctor handed the lost item over to the old man. It was Michael's locket. He carefully opened it. There were 2 pictures inside, of his wife Julia and his daughter Helena. "I'm George Wostowski. I loved your daughter Helena. We went to med school together. One day we even came over from the city together to visit you and your wife. The second time we met was at the funeral. I wanted to start a family with Helena. We went as military doctors to another country together. It was there that we fell in love. Unfortunately, I couldn't save your daughter. I've been blaming myself for it ever since, even though I understand that given her injury, There was nothing anyone could have done. Tears welled up in Michael's eyes. Don't worry, please. You shouldn't worry. George patted the old man's head. They talked for a long time. Michael told the doctor how he got to the hospital and why he became ill. It turned out that George's brother worked for the police. He promised that he would do everything in his power to deal with the situation to restore justice. I won't leave you in trouble in memory of Helena. When Grandpa Michael returned home, there were no more loud noises to disturb his peace. George kept his promise, and the delinquent neighbors got what they deserved. They were caught red-handed and detained by the police during one of their parties. The young men were also reprimanded for slander. They even apologized to the old man. One day, George came to see Michael. I haven't been here in such a long time, but I always liked your place. You haven't even changed anything. Everything's just the same as it was back then. The old man and the doctor drank some tea in the gazebo and talked for a long time. As George was leaving, he asked, Can I come visit you once in a while? My parents are both dead and you remind me of my father. And we both loved Helena. Of course you can. I would love that. The two men embraced like father and son. The doctor picked up the locket the old man had lost. He was surprised to see the photo inside.